Welcome to today's explainer. Look, the days of one-size-fits-all AI, they're totally dead. Today, we're breaking down the exact architectural blueprint for what comes next. Because honestly, understanding this massive shift from generic chat interfaces to fully customized systems is absolutely essential. Okay, let's dive into this.
I want to bypass the usual table setting today and just ask you directly, are you ready for the 2026 customization trend? Because the landscape is shifting rapidly from broad, general-purpose tools to highly specific individualized systems. You know how frustrating it is right now to constantly have to remind a generic AI about your company's specific tone of voice? Or worse, having to re-upload the exact same context windows every single Tuesday? Yeah, that friction is exactly why we're moving toward a reality where intelligence is tailored by default. If you aren't actively preparing for customized intelligence, you're already falling behind the curve of where this technology is fundamentally heading.
Our entire roadmap for today comes from one definitive text: Architecting Custom Intelligence, the 2026 GPT Deployment Guide. This guide is essentially the ultimate playbook. It tells us not just what is happening out there, but the foundational mechanics of exactly how we must adapt to it. Instead of just offering up some high-level theory, the text dives straight into the gritty operational shift required to actually move away from public models and step into private, hyper-specialized deployments. And to really get the guide, we first have to understand the core motivation behind it. Customization is trending heavily. The guide makes it explicitly clear that this isn't just some optional feature or a niche hobby for weekend developers anymore. No, it's an economic imperative. Organizations are waking up and realizing that the real ROI on AI doesn't come from a $20 monthly subscription to a generic chatbot. It comes from integrating proprietary data to literally shave thousands of hours off internal workflows. The overwhelming demand right now is for systems uniquely adapted to specific tasks, specific voices, and specific operational goals. The authors of the guide point to this massive shift as the absolute driving force for everything that follows. They emphasize that organizations, and individuals for that matter, who ignore this economic demand are going to find themselves completely outpaced by competitors running bespoke systems. It's this incredibly practical demand for tailored models that makes architecting custom intelligence not just a good idea, but an absolute necessity for 2026. Basically, you're either building a system that knows your business inside and out, or you're competing against someone who already has.
Let's make sure we're defining our terms exactly as the guide lays them out. Custom intelligence is defined as the practice of building and training custom GPT models specifically tailored for targeted deployment. So, the absolute crucial point here is that this is an active architectural process. You aren't just logging into a pre-existing interface and typing in a really clever prompt. You are fundamentally acting as an architect. Think of it less like walking up and asking a librarian a question, and actually more like, well, building the library itself, curated entirely for your specific company or your totally unique personal workflows.
And the guide circles one very specific target year for this to become the dominant standard: 2026. We are not talking about some sci-fi future in the next decade. We are talking about an immediate, present-day deployment strategy. The text outlines exactly why 2026 is the tipping point. It's this perfect storm of massive reductions in compute costs, combined with the rapid maturity of API integrations, which is actively lowering the barrier to entry for everyone. This timeline adds a real layer of urgency to our explainer today. The window for simply understanding general AI is closing, fast. The era of deploying custom AI is arriving right now. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact execution strategy explicitly outlined in the source text into a logical forward progression. How does this actually happen? First, you build the custom GPTs. In practice, this means defining the underlying system prompts, setting up your API integrations, and establishing all your security guardrails. Next, you train those models. This is the fun part, where you upload your proprietary datasets, apply fine-tuning techniques, and feed the model the exact knowledge parameters it needs to succeed. Finally, you deploy it. You integrate this tailored engine directly into your software stack. It's a clean, three-part architectural methodology that takes you from a blank slate to a fully functioning custom intelligence. Let's move to and see how this builds into the specific arenas where these custom GPTs are meant to be deployed. Once you've actually built and trained this architecture, where does it live? Well, the guide splits the world of custom intelligence into two distinct environments: business and personal. You see, the customized models of 2026 aren't restricted to giant server farms or isolated academic labs anymore. They are meant to be deployed directly into our everyday commercial operations and our daily individual lives, operating silently and efficiently right in the background of everything we do. Let's look closely at how these two environments actually compare. On one side, we've got business use. The build and train methodology here applies directly to enterprise operations. So imagine a custom GPT trained exclusively on a company's internal HR policies, its proprietary coding standards, or its unique customer service voice. Pretty powerful, right? On the flip side, we have personal use. This is all about individual productivity. Imagine a custom GPT built to seamlessly manage your household schedule, match your personal writing style, or perhaps more importantly, finally trained to make sense of your chaotic tax receipts. The underlying architecture is exactly the same, but the targeted deployment creates completely different, highly customized realities for the user. Okay, let's bring all of this together to see the entire framework of the 2026 GPT deployment guide in one spot. The playbook is crystal clear. You start by building that custom foundation, structuring the exact parameters you're going to need. Then, you train the specific behavior using your unique data. Finally, you deploy it exactly where it's needed, whether that's streamlining your entire business operation or just organizing your complex personal life. That is exactly how you capitalize on this shift. This isn't just a random list of tasks, it's a cohesive architectural plan for navigating a world where heavy customization is simply the baseline expectation. So we've seen the massive trend, we've broken down the deep mechanics of the build and train methodology, and we've explored the huge business and personal applications drawn straight from our guide today. Which leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. Are your business and personal systems ready for the 2026 wave of custom intelligence? Take a hard, honest look at how you operate today. Are you ready for 2026, or are you still relying on 2023's generic AI? Because the tools are there, the architecture is waiting. The only question left is, what are you going to build first? Thank you so much for joining this explainer.